Hey guys, it's Lisa. Welcome to Banning, Panning and Beyond. I thought I'd give you guys an update on how I went for January, do a bit of a recap. So I haven't really made too many notes. I've got my notebook in front of me, but most of this video is just going to be off the cuff and hopefully a sort of short and sweet update. I've probably covered most of the things I'm already going to say in previous videos. So I probably start with how I went in regards to new releases and how that made me feel. And I know everybody is different and how they cope, whether or not they've got a full-blown shopping addiction or they've just gotten into some really bad habits. And I think mine was more towards the bad habits and probably the company that I was keeping. You get in a certain mindset and you can encourage bad behaviors with each other, and I don't just mean that in a real life sense. I mean even online. And I keep telling a friend of mine, who's trying really hard to do a low buy, and I believe that she's following this, is to just try to avoid the exposure, I guess. So I did actually unsubscribe from a whole heap of brands' emails, and any that sort of drift through, since I did the initial cleanup, I have been trying to unsubscribe from. I don't know that I would cope real well with the temptation, so I've done what I've needed to do. Unfortunately, you can't completely avoid exposure to new releases. I mean, I am active now a lot more on Instagram, and people do post about them, and I can't completely cut myself off. So luckily a lot of them I'm not tempted by. We just saw the new Jeffree Star was it the Bloodlust release, and it's not my cup of tea. It's pretty, but purples are not generally something that tempt me. So I was safe with that, and the amount of relief that I feel when I'm not tempted by something is still a concern for me. I definitely was tempted by the Golden Opulence palette from Pat McGrath, and I think the easiest thing that got me through that is just the sheer expense of the palette. If it had been cheaper, I probably would have beat myself up a little bit more, and also the knowledge that I've already got a few of her palettes, and I don't know why, or I should say I'm not really avoiding them in particular. It's just because of the sheer size of my eyeshadow collection that I've already got, that I just don't use them really at all, because I've got so much other choice. It's not because they're expensive that I'm sort of putting them up on a pedestal and not touching them, but I mean, they are packed away in my display cabinet, so they're not as easily accessible as the palettes in my drawers. But just knowing that I have them sitting there, and for the most part they have remained untouched, it kind of really sort of is easier to pacify myself, I guess, in the fact that I'm not getting the new one. The one palette that I did get in January was the new ABH Amrezy collab, and that was through my Christmas gift voucher that I was carrying over with me. And so if you haven't seen the what I spent my budget on for January video, I will link it, but spoiler alert, I did spend it. So, and I really honestly thought that I was going to hold on to that voucher longer. There was no sort of real nagging to spend it. It just so happened that that palette became available, and I really did like it, so I decided to go ahead and spend the voucher. I wasn't going to hold on to it for the sake of it. I mean, that's the whole point of what it was for, is if there was something that I wanted, it was a non-replacement item that I was allowed to spend it on that. So yeah, so that has come into my collection, and I've yet to use it, only because I am being driven on what products I use through Instagram challenges that I've been participating in, which is sort of pushing me more towards the older products that I've got, you know, trying to pan things. And yeah, so I mean, it's definitely difficult to avoid the temptation. Hence, like I said, you know, I try to not expose myself to begin with, but just really I think the biggest thing that's helped me to get my focus away from new releases and that sort of longing to buy new things has because I have turned my attention elsewhere. So, you know, participating in those challenges has highlighted the collection that I've already got, and because there are so many things there that either I haven't used at all or I haven't used in a long time, it's helped me to fall back in love with the products that I've already got. So that has been such a great thing, and so many of them actually feel new to me, even though I've had a lot of them for quite a while. So that's been an awesome thing. And also a big part of it has been cataloging my collection as well, because it's just made me realize how much stuff that I've got, and it just does not make sense for me to buy new stuff. So, and I'm not saying that I won't ever buy new stuff, because I don't think that's what any of us are really about, or the majority of us are about. You know, we love makeup, and we've dug these holes for ourselves because of that love of makeup. And you know, I will continue to love makeup forever, I think, even, you know, as I get really old. I mean, obviously my application techniques will change, and that's something I'm already learning in my late 40s, but you know, that's something I'm still trying to perfect. Whether I will or not, you know, who knows, because fashions and trends change. But I'm trying to, through playing with makeup, discover what suits my eye shape, what suits my skin, what suits my personality more. Obviously I'm always trying to push myself outside of my comfort zone, and that has happened. I'm certainly not out there by any means, and as you can probably tell today, and even in my last video, I'm much more comfortable in wearing a bold lip than what I am with my playing with colour on my eyes. And I'm not sure why that is, really. Maybe it's because of the lines around my eyes. As I've gotten older, I don't want to draw attention to them as much. I haven't really sort of delved into it that much, but it's something that I do want to explore. I want to get more comfortable with having more colour on my eyes. That doesn't necessarily mean it has to be bright or it has to be neon. Just you can still get plenty of colour in different ways on your eyes, and they can be muted colour. It can, you know, it can still be warm to be a colour. It doesn't have to be a bright. And you know, I guess that's, you know, me talking to myself in that, not obviously not, you know, to anyone in particular. It's just something I've had to come to terms with, because I've always stuck to the more muted colours, and you know, the browns and the sort of warmer bronzes and more coppers, oranges, that sort of thing. And it's funny now that I look back at some of the very first palettes I bought, and they honestly now bore me. So I know that I have evolved to some degree, and it's funny because I've just been having this conversation with somebody on Instagram earlier today. So, you know, I am changing. Will I ever be someone that's really out there and does these, you know, sort of I don't know, really artistic looks? I just don't think that's me. So I have to find, you know, my own style, I guess. And, you know, and playing with my makeup is helping me. And maybe, I don't know, in my own time when I'm not posting on Instagram, or, you know, I'll do a look and then maybe I'll do something different. And because, you know, let's face it, like, it all washes off, doesn't it? So, you know, there's no harm in playing and doing something really ridiculous, or, you know, practicing your winged liner, even though that's not something I generally do. I would still like to be able to do it, whether or not it suits me, you know, because if I ever go to do makeup on somebody else, I'd like to be able to do that on someone. And I need to learn how to apply lashes. I mean, I bought my lash kit. If you'd seen what I spent my money on in January, so that includes the pair of applicators, and yeah, I own a fair few pairs of lashes, and they're just sitting there going to waste. So we'll see how I go with that one. So one of the things that did come up through January, and something I realised that I hadn't thought about, or maybe I sort of knew inherently in myself, but I hadn't covered in my no-buy rules, was what I would do when it comes to new product types within a category. So, for example, you know, the lash kit it's not a replacement, because I didn't have lash applicator to begin with. So where I say it's a replacement's only no buy, I hadn't thought about that. So I guess that's something that I wanted to clarify, where if I already had something in my collection, I can't buy another one. But if it's a category that was empty, whether I had something in the past or whether it's something I've just never had before, I'm allowing myself to buy that, but it has to be within my budget. So it's going to come out of that. So even though it's not technically a replacement, I'm not buying a duplicate. So I'm guessing, you know, that should make sense to most of you, and why I sort of talked about the no buy versus a low buy is that it can, there is a lot of grey areas, and it can be quite blurry. So, and I was prepared for the fact that I would add extra rules in as I went. I just wouldn't take any existing rules out. So hopefully I've covered that one. So I think that's pretty much it. So I didn't struggle too much in January. I did have my moments. There were times, you know, like that we had a 50% off Sephora sale, and I did struggle with that. I was tempted by the Kali Bible ABH palette. I always thought that, you know, I did, and this is part of the collector in me, you know, that since I've started, I wanted to have every single one, and I skipped that particular palette because only half of it really appealed to me. I did like the top row in that one, but I wasn't confident that I would use it, so I was never prepared to pay full price for it. But as soon as that 50% sale off sale came up, you know, if I hadn't been on a no buy, I would have bought it. Like, there's no two ways about it. So not only did the no buy, you know, I looked at it and went, no, I can't get it. Like, stop torturing yourself. Don't look. And I'm not even sure how I found out about that 50% off sale. So again, if I hadn't known about it, you know, I wouldn't have been tempted. But it goes to show that once the knowledge of the sale was there, I couldn't help myself. I looked. So then I had to battle within myself. And then, lucky for me, the palette sold out anyway. So, you know, I couldn't get it. But so it's not to say that I haven't struggled at some point, but it hasn't been as hard as what I thought it would be. And that's not to say that it's not going to get harder, because obviously I had new stuff in my collection from all the Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales. So I haven't had very long where I haven't been able to get new stuff, but now I've got my Amrezy palette, and I do have that to play with, so hopefully that will tie me over for a little while longer. So I hope everyone else out there is doing okay on their no buys or low buys, and we're all individuals. We all have our own struggles and, you know, trials and tribulations and our own triumphs. So yeah, I hope that you'll be happy to share how you're first month of your no-buy, or maybe you're only doing the 1 month, like feel free to share with me how you've been going, and I will try to get another video done hopefully soon. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that I am going away. I'm doing a girls trip with my sister to go and visit an uncle of mine who's very sick, and I'm not too sure whether or not I'll hopefully get another video up before I go. I'll only be gone for 4 or 5 days, so I guess, you know, it's no big deal if I don't get a video up in that time. I might even try and take my laptop with me and film while I'm away. It'd be interesting to see whether my sister will jump on camera or not with me, but you know, it might be nice, like a nice way for me to share with you guys from overseas, or even other parts of Australia, sort of the place where I'm going, and how different our landscape can be. It's a beautiful part of the country, so yeah, I'll see how I go with that one. So like I said, just a quick sort of update of where I'm at, and I will try to, you know, I have been trying very, very hard to get my cataloguing done, so I'll probably cover that a bit more in my February recap. So as always, thank you for joining me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!